I was in a car accident with my wife and found out she was cheating while she was in the hospital. I'm writing this from a hospital chair at 2 in the morning because I can't sleep and I can't process what I just discovered, and I need to tell someone before my head explodes. My wife, Sienna, and I were in a car accident tonight. We were driving home from dinner with friends when a truck ran a red light and slammed into the passenger side of our car. I was driving. Sienna was in the passenger seat. I walked away with bruises and a ringing in my ears. Sienna wasn't so lucky. The impact crushed her side of the car. She was unconscious when the paramedics arrived. They had to cut her out. I rode in the ambulance with her, watching the EMTs work, feeling completely helpless and terrified. They rushed her into emergency surgery when we got to the hospital. Something about internal bleeding, a ruptured spleen, possible head trauma. I was left in a waiting room with a neck brace and shock blanket while surgeons worked on my wife. Our families came, my parents, her sister Amber. We all sat in that awful waiting room drinking terrible coffee and trying not to think the worst. After almost 4 hours, a surgeon came out and told us Sienna had made it through. They'd removed her ruptured spleen. She had 3 broken ribs and a concussion, but she was stable. She'd be in ICU for observation, sedated for now, but the prognosis was good. The relief was overwhelming. Everyone was crying and hugging. My wife was alive. She was going to recover. They let us see her once she was settled in ICU. She looked so small in that hospital bed, hooked up to monitors and IVs, face pale under the bruising and bandages, but she was breathing. Her heart was beating. She was going to be okay. Our family stayed for a while, then gradually left around midnight to get some rest. I told them I was staying. The nurses said I could sleep in the recliner chair next to her bed. I didn't sleep. I just sat there watching her breathe, feeling grateful she was alive. Around 2 in the morning, her phone started buzzing in the bag of personal belongings the hospital had given me. I'd forgotten it was even there. I pulled it out thinking maybe it was her work or a friend who'd heard about the accident. The screen showed 2 missed calls and 7 text messages from someone named Dakota. I didn't recognize the name. The message preview on the lock screen said, "Baby, please answer. I saw the accident on the news. Are you okay?" Baby. I stared at that word for a long time. Who calls someone else's wife baby? My hand was shaking as I unlocked her phone. I knew her passcode. We'd never hidden our phones from each other. I'd never had a reason to look before. I opened the conversation with Dakota. The messages went back 8 months, hundreds and hundreds of them. "I love you. I miss you. Last night was amazing. I hate that you have to go home to him. Can't wait until we can be together for real." I felt like I couldn't breathe, like someone had punched me in the chest. I scrolled back through months of messages, detailed, explicit conversations about their affair, plans to meet at hotels, a weekend trip to San Antonio that Sienna had told me was a work conference, messages from just hours before her accident where Dakota had texted, "Wish you were with me tonight," and Sienna had replied, "Me too, but I have to keep up appearances." Keep up appearances. Our entire marriage was just appearances to her, something to maintain while she was with someone else. There were photos, nothing explicit, but intimate, Dakota at restaurants, Dakota's apartment, a selfie of them together that made my stomach turn. I sat in that chair reading through 8 months of my wife's affair, while she lay unconscious 3 feet away, while I'd been sitting here grateful she was alive, terrified of losing her. She'd been planning to leave me. The messages made that clear. She and Dakota had been talking about their future together, about when would be the right time for her to ask for a divorce. I don't know how long I sat there scrolling through the evidence of her betrayal, long enough that the sun started coming up, long enough that a nurse came in to check Sienna's vitals and asked if I was okay, because I guess I looked destroyed. I told her I was fine. I wasn't fine. Nothing was fine. Nothing would ever be fine again. Update. It's been 5 days since the accident. 5 days since I found out my wife had been cheating on me for 8 months while I thought we were happy and planning our future. Sienna's still in the hospital. She woke up from sedation the day after surgery, groggy and confused and in pain. Her parents were there. I was there. She asked what happened, and we told her about the accident. She reached for my hand and said she was so glad I was okay, that she'd been so worried about me. The concern in her voice felt like a knife. She'd been worried about me while texting another man that she wished she was with him instead. I couldn't do it, couldn't confront her in a hospital bed with her parents standing right there while she was recovering from major surgery. It felt cruel, even though what she'd done was crueler. So I've been playing the concerned husband for 5 days, visiting her in the hospital, bringing her things from home, sitting with her while she's awake, all while knowing what I know. It's been torture. She's been moved out of ICU into a regular room. The doctors say she's recovering well, but she'll need to stay at least another week, maybe more. The broken ribs and spleen removal means she can't go home yet. She needs monitoring and pain management and help with basic activities. I've barely slept. I've been staying at our house alone, surrounded by evidence of our life together, knowing it was all built on lies. I finally told someone yesterday, my best friend Tyler. I showed him the messages and he was stunned. He'd had dinner with us a dozen times, thought we were solid. He asked what I was going to do. I said I didn't know, that I couldn't confront Sienna while she was still in the hospital, that it felt wrong. Tyler said she'd been lying to me for 8 months, that she'd made her choices, that I didn't know her anything. He was right, but I still couldn't bring myself to do it. Then yesterday something happened that forced my hand. I was at the hospital, sitting with Sienna. She was awake, still in pain, but talking normally. We were making small talk about her recovery when her phone buzzed on the bedside table. She couldn't reach it easily with her ribs still healing. She asked me to check who it was. I picked up her phone and saw Dakota's name on the screen. Another message asking if she was okay, saying he needed to hear from her. Sienna saw my face change. She asked what was wrong. I just showed her the screen, showed her Dakota's name. The color drained from her face. What little color she had anyway. She tried to say something, but I cut her off, told her I knew. I'd known since the night of the accident. I'd read everything. She started crying, tried to reach for me, but I stepped back. I told her we'd talk when she got out of the hospital, that I couldn't do this here, but she needed to know that I knew everything and our marriage was over. Then I left, walked out of that hospital room while she was crying and calling after me. Her parents called me an hour later. Her mom was furious, said I'd upset Sienna badly, that her blood pressure had spiked, that the nurses had to give her something to calm down. I told her to ask Sienna why I was upset. Then I hung up. Amber called next. She was calmer, said Sienna had told her everything, that Sienna knew she'd screwed up and was devastated. I said Sienna had made her choices, that I was done. Amber said I was being cruel, that Sienna almost died, that I should at least wait until she's recovered before blowing up our marriage. I told Amber that Sienna had been planning to blow up our marriage anyway, that I was just speeding up her timeline. I haven't been back to the hospital since. Sienna's been trying to call, but I'm not answering. Her parents have called multiple times. I've ignored all of them. I called a divorce lawyer this morning. She said we could start filing paperwork now, even though Sienna is still hospitalized, that I didn't need to wait. I told her to start the process. I also went through her credit card statements last night, found charges at hotels on night Sienna, had said she was working late, expensive dinners at restaurants we'd never been to together, that weekend in San Antonio, charged to our joint account. Thousands of dollars of our shared money spent on her affair, money we'd been saving for a house down payment, money we'd talked about using to start trying for a baby. She'd been planning our family while planning to leave me. The cognitive dissonance is staggering. The lawyer said the financial evidence could help an asset division, that Texas has no fault divorce, but we could argue for unequal split based on dissipation of marital funds. I told her to do whatever would get this over with fastest. I'm staying with Tyler now. Can't be in our house surrounded by memories that all feel fake. Every photo, every piece of furniture we picked out together, every plan we made feels tainted. Tyler's been great. Let me crash in his guest room, listen to me vent for hours, help me start looking at apartments. I found out through a mutual friend that people at the hospital have been asking questions. Apparently, it's unusual for a husband to just disappear while his wife is recovering from major surgery. Sienna's family has been making excuses, but people are starting to wonder. Good. Let them wonder. Let them find out what she did. I know I sound angry. I am angry, but I'm also devastated and betrayed and completely destroyed. I thought we were happy. I thought we were building something real. We just talked about starting to try for kids a few weeks before the accident. Was any of it real? Or was our entire marriage just a performance while she figured out how to leave? I'll never know, and that might be the worst part. Update 2. Sienna was released from the hospital 4 days ago. She's staying with her parents because she still needs help with daily activities, and I made it clear I wouldn't be providing it. We met yesterday to talk. First time I'd seen her since I walked out of her hospital room 2 weeks ago. We met at a coffee shop halfway between my new apartment and her parents' house. She looked rough, still healing, moving carefully because of her ribs, thinner than before, probably from the hospital stay and stress. Part of me felt guilty for contributing to that stress. The other part of me remembered those messages and felt nothing. She started apologizing immediately, said the affair was the biggest mistake of her life, that she'd been confused and selfish and never meant to hurt me this badly. I asked her how it started. I needed the full story, even though I wasn't sure I wanted to hear it. She said she'd met Dakota at work about a year ago. They'd been friendly colleagues, started getting lunch together, talking about their lives. It felt innocent at first. Then it became more. They started texting outside work, meeting for drinks after hours. About 8 months ago, they'd kissed. After that, everything spiraled. They'd started sleeping together, meeting at hotels, making plans. She said she tried to end it multiple times, but kept going back, that she cared about Dakota, but loved me, that she'd been planning to come clean and ask for a divorce, but kept losing her nerve. I asked the question I'd been dreading, asked if anything about our marriage had been real, or if I'd just been a safe backup plan while she explored other options. She swore she'd loved me, still loved me, that the affair wasn't about me not being enough. It was about her own issues, her fear of commitment becoming permanent, her panic about getting older, and wondering if she'd made the right choices. I told her that didn't make it better, that understanding her psychology didn't erase 8 months of lying to my face. She kept crying, saying she knew, saying she was so sorry, begging me to consider counseling instead of divorce. I told her I'd already filed, that my lawyer had started the paperwork, that there was nothing to save. She asked if the accident changed anything, if almost losing her made me realize life was too short to throw away what we had. That made me furious. I told her the accident didn't erase her betrayal, that almost dying didn't give her a moral reset button, that she'd made choices for 8 months that destroyed our marriage, and the accident didn't change any of that. She said she understood, but please, couldn't we at least try to work through it? I left without answering, told her my lawyer would be in touch about the divorce proceedings. The divorce is moving forward quickly. Sienna isn't contesting anything. I think she knows she doesn't have ground to stand on. We're splitting assets 60-40 in my favor because of the money she spent on the affair. The house is going on the market next month. My lawyer says everything should be final within 6 to 8 weeks. Then 2 days ago, something happened that made everything even more complicated. Dakota showed up at my apartment. I'd moved into a 1-bedroom place near work the week before. I was unpacking boxes when someone knocked on my door around 8 at night. I opened it to find a guy I recognized from the photos on Sienna's phone. Dakota, standing in my doorway, looking nervous. He asked if we could talk. I should have slammed the door, but morbid curiosity won. I wanted to know what the person who'd helped destroy my marriage had to say for himself. We sat in my barely furnished living room. Dakota looked uncomfortable, fidgeting. He said he knew I had every reason to hate him, but he needed me to hear his side of the story, that Sienna had lied to both of us. I asked what he meant. Dakota said Sienna had told him 6 months ago that our marriage was over, that we were separated and just living together temporarily while the divorce paperwork went through, that it was amicable, and we were only staying legally married for insurance and financial reasons until everything was finalized. I stared at him. That was completely fabricated. We'd been living together normally, sharing a bed, making plans for the future. Dakota continued. He said Sienna had even shown him documents she claimed were divorce filings. He believed her completely. He thought he was dating someone who was separated and moving on, not having an affair with a fully married woman. Then the accident happened. Dakota had seen it on the local news. He panicked and gone to the hospital to check on Sienna. That's when he discovered the truth. The hospital staff had told him only immediate family could get information. They'd told him Sienna's emergency contact was her husband who she lived with, me. Dakota had realized then that everything Sienna had told him was a lie. We weren't separated. We were fully married and living together. He confronted her through text once she'd woken up. She tried to maintain the lie at first, but eventually admitted she'd made the whole separation story up. Dakota had ended things immediately, blocked her number, quit his job to avoid seeing her at work. He said he'd spent the past few weeks thinking about everything and decided I deserved to know the full extent of Sienna's deception, that she hadn't just cheated on me. She'd lied elaborately to him to make herself look better. I asked why he'd really come, what he wanted from me. Dakota said he didn't want anything. He just thought I should know who Sienna really was, someone capable of lying convincingly to everyone in her life. Then he left. I sat there trying to process it. The layers of deception just kept getting deeper. Sienna hadn't just betrayed me. She'd built an entire false narrative for Dakota, created fake documents, constructed an elaborate lie that made her the victim of a failing marriage instead of the person destroying a good one. I called my lawyer and told her what Dakota had said. She asked if I wanted to use it in the divorce proceedings. I said no, it didn't change anything legally, and I just wanted this finished. I haven't told Sienna that Dakota came to see me. We're only communicating through lawyers now, anyway. But her sister Amber called yesterday, said Sienna was struggling, that she was depressed and not eating properly, and Amber was worried about her mental state. I felt a flicker of concern. Then I remembered everything, and it died. I told Amber that Sienna's well-being wasn't my responsibility anymore, that she had family and friends to support her through this. Amber said I was being heartless. That marriage meant supporting each other through difficult times, even when things were hard. I said marriage also meant not sleeping with coworkers and lying about it for 8 months, that Sienna had violated the marriage first, not me. Amber hung up on me. My parents have been supportive. They liked Sienna, but they agreed the cheating was unforgivable. My dad said I should be grateful we didn't have kids yet, that discovering this with children involved would have been infinitely worse. He was right. That's the one silver lining. At least no kids are caught in this mess. I started seeing a therapist last week. She's been helping me work through the betrayal trauma, the loss of trust, the anger of being deceived so thoroughly. She asked me what I learned from this experience. I said I learned that you can't really know someone, that people can lie convincingly while looking you in the eye, that trust has to be earned and maintained, not just assumed. I also learned I'm stronger than I thought, that I can survive something that felt world-ending, that I can rebuild. It's not the life I planned, but maybe it's the life I need. Final update. The divorce was finalized yesterday morning. 4 years of marriage dissolved in about 8 weeks of legal proceedings. Sienna signed everything without contest. The house sold quickly, and we split the proceeds according to our settlement agreement. I signed the final papers in my lawyer's office. Sienna signed hers separately. We never had to be in the same room. Just like that, it was over. It feels surreal. Something that was such a huge part of my life ended with signatures on documents. No ceremony, no dramatic final confrontation, just paperwork and a judge's stamp. I'm fully settled into my apartment now. Got furniture that's actually mine, decorated the way I want, made it feel like home. It's strange living alone after 7 years with someone, but it's also peaceful. No wondering where Sienna is, no waiting for the next light to surface, no performing normalcy when everything feels broken. The therapy has been helping more than I expected. My counselor has been working with me on rebuilding trust in myself and eventually in others, on processing the trauma without letting it poison every future relationship. I'm not ready to date yet, but I'm getting there. I had one final conversation with Sienna a few days after the divorce was finalized. She called from a number I didn't recognize, and I answered without thinking. She said she wanted closure, needed me to understand that the affair really wasn't about me being inadequate, that she'd been dealing with her own issues about commitment, about whether she'd made the right life choices, about fear of permanence. She said she'd been in intensive therapy and was working on understanding why she'd sabotaged something good, that she took full responsibility for destroying our marriage. I told her I was glad she was getting help, but it didn't change what happened, that understanding her motivations didn't make the betrayal hurt less. She asked if I thought I'd ever be able to forgive her, not reconcile, just forgive. I said, honestly, I didn't know, maybe someday, but not now, and probably not for a long time. She said she understood, that she hoped I found someone who deserved me and treated me better than she had. We said goodbye. I deleted the number immediately after. I found out through mutual friends that Sienna moved to Denver about 3 weeks ago. Apparently, she wanted fresh, start somewhere people didn't know what had happened. Too many people in Austin knew the story. Part of me is glad she left. Makes it easier to move forward when there's no chance of running into her at the grocery store or seeing her car around town. Tyler threw me a quiet celebration last weekend when the divorce was official. Just a few close friends at a bar. Nothing crazy, just drinks and pool and feeling normal for a few hours. One of his friends, Jordan, was there. We met once before, but talked more that night. She was easy to talk to, funny, intelligent. She gave me her number when the evening ended and said to call if I ever wanted to grab coffee sometime. I probably won't call yet. I'm not ready, but I kept the number, maybe in a few months when I've healed more. Work has been good. The initial drama and gossip about my divorce has faded. I got promoted last month. Actually, my boss said I've been doing exceptional work and they wanted to recognize it. The salary increase makes the single income situation much easier. I've been traveling more, took a long weekend in Colorado a few weeks ago, just me, and hiking trails and distance from everything. I'm planning a trip to Iceland this fall, doing things I want to do without having to coordinate schedules or compromise on destinations. There's freedom in being single that I'd forgotten about during my marriage, freedom to be selfish with my time and decisions. My parents still check in regularly, ask if I'm doing okay. I tell them yes, and it's mostly true now. I still have bad days where the anger and hurt feel fresh, days where I see couples doing ordinary things and feel the loss of what I thought I had. But those days are getting less frequent. I ran into one of Sienna's friends at a coffee shop 2 weeks ago. She gave me this awkward, sympathetic look and asked how I was holding up. I said I was doing really well, actually, moving on, building a new life. She looked surprised, like she expected me to still be devastated. Maybe she thought I'd be regretting the divorce or pining for Sienna. But I don't regret it all. Sienna showed me exactly who she was through her choices, someone capable of sustained, elaborate deception, someone who'd rather lie than have difficult conversations, someone who put her own desires above our marriage and my trust. I deserve better than that. The therapist asked me last week what this experience taught me about myself. I said it taught me I'm more resilient than I knew, that I can survive betrayal and come out stronger, that I can rebuild my life from scratch at 33 and be okay with uncertainty. It also taught me that actions matter more than words, that trust has to be earned continuously, not just assumed because you love someone. I don't know what my future looks like now, whether I'll eventually call Jordan or meet someone else, whether I want to get married again, or if this experience has permanently changed how I view commitment. But I know I'll be okay. I'm already okay. Sienna didn't break me. She hurt me deeply, betrayed my trust in ways I'm still processing. But I'm still here, still moving forward, still building a life I'm actually proud of. And honestly, that's more than enough.